They were kings, lords of empires, rulers of millions, but behind their royal robes lay twisted family trees, secret genetic curses, and disturbing consequences of centuries of inbreeding, in a desperate attempt to keep bloodlines pure. Royal families across Europe and beyond often married their cousins, or worse. The result, some kings were born into power, but doomed by birth. Today, we reveal the top 10 most inbred kings in history and the shocking toll it took on their minds, bodies, and empires. This is Mr. Bonin. Let's begin. Number 10. King Charles IV of Spain. Charles IV ruled Spain in the late 1700s. But it wasn't his leadership that history remembers. Born into the notoriously inbred Spanish royal family, Charles was the product of generations of close relative marriages. Though not as extreme as his successors, he showed early signs of intellectual delays and emotional instability. He relied heavily on advisors and his wife to rule. Historians now believe he lacked the decisiveness and clarity expected of a monarch, all symptoms likely connected to the gene pool he came from. Number 9. King Leopold II of Belgium. Most know Leopold II for his brutal reign over the Congo, but few realize he also came from a deeply inbred royal network. As a Habsburg descendant, his ancestry traces back to cousin marriages across Austria, Spain, and France. He showed signs of emotional detachment and extreme cruelty, especially in colonial administration, a possible psychological effect of genetic narrowing. Leopold's reign ended in disgrace, his mind and legacy both tarnished. Number 8. King Ferdinand I of Austria. Nicknamed Ferdinand the Benign, but not because he was gentle. Ferdinand was born with hydrocephalus, epilepsy, and a severe speech disorder. His marriage to a cousin only worsened the family gene pool. He could barely speak a sentence without stuttering and often required assistance just to perform public duties. His reign was ceremonial. The real power lay in the hands of advisors. Historians now consider him a tragic example of what inbreeding can do when combined with political ambition. Number 7. King Christian VII of Denmark. Christian VII was king in the late 1700s, and his mental state quickly became a national concern. From hallucinations to violent outbursts, many described him as borderline insane. Born from multiple cousin marriages, his family tree was more a web than a line. Christian's behavior was so erratic that his own court staged a quiet coup. While keeping him on the throne as a figurehead, he spent most of his life heavily medicated, isolated, and lost in his own mind. Number 6. Tsar Ivan IV of Russia. Ivan the Terrible. While Ivan IV may not have been as genetically inbred as some others on this list, the Russian royals still practiced close relative marriages for centuries, and it showed. Ivan suffered from paranoia, sudden rages, and violent outbursts. He even killed his own son in a fit of madness. Some historians link his psychological instability to generations of limited genetic diversity among co-heirs. Among Russian nobility, he left behind a legacy of terror and a dynasty that crumbled from within. Number 5. King George III of Great Britain, known today as the Mad King. George III ruled during the American Revolution, but spent his final years lost in confusion and hallucination. His family practiced frequent intermarriage with German cousins, shrinking their gene pool. George suffered from porphyria, a rare inherited blood disorder that causes confusion, seizures, and severe pain. By the end, he couldn't recognize his own family. He sat in silence, blind and insane, while the empire carried on without him. Number 4. King Tutankhamun of Egypt. Jumping back to ancient Egypt, King Tut, the famous boy pharaoh, was the child of a brother-sister marriage. Modern DNA analysis shows he had a cleft palate, a club foot, and multiple genetic disorders. His brief, fragile life was filled with pain, and he died before reaching adulthood. The ancient Egyptians believed divine blood must stay within the royal family. But their belief in purity led to a legacy of deformity and a pharaoh who could barely walk without aid. Number 3. King Philip V of Spain, a grandson of Louis XIV. Philip inherited not only the throne, but also a family history of mental illness and inbreeding. He often refused to leave his bed, claiming he was being hunted by invisible forces. Times, he believed he was made of glass and might shatter. Even his own court whispered of his madness. But none dared challenge the king. Historians link his condition to the growing genetic instability within the Bourbon and Habsburg lines. Number 2. King Charles II of Spain. If inbreeding had a face, it would be Charles II, nicknamed El Hechizado, the Bewitched. Charles was the last of the Spanish Habsburgs. His inbreeding coefficient was higher than if his parents were siblings. He couldn't speak clearly, struggled to chew food, and had severe developmental delays. His jaw was so deformed he couldn't close his mouth. He was infertile, mentally impaired, and completely unfit to rule the tragic end. Result of centuries of cousin marriage. His death marked the fall of the Habsburg dynasty in Spain. Number 1. King Alfonso XII of Spain. Alfonso XII may not be as grotesquely remembered as Charles II, but his short, tragic life was another cautionary tale of royal inbreeding. He suffered from chronic illness from an early age. Tuberculosis took him at just 27. His mother and father were close relatives, and the Habsburg trait still echoed through his weakened body. Though he tried to modernize Spain, his reign was cut short by the very genes that had built his throne. Royalty once meant power, prestige, and a dangerous obsession with blood purity. For centuries, kings and queens ignored science, driven by tradition and superstition, creating dynasties destined to collapse from within. History teaches us what's kept in the family, ... sometimes should have stayed out. If you enjoyed this glimpse into history's darker side, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and let us know in the comments which royal story shocked you the most. This is Mr. Banan. Until next time.